I know. I put that right in my face, didn't I? But you know what? Because I had to show you all of this. This classroom is just like it is. You have to be able to see what doing something, number one, and number two, that you're supposed to be doing on your journey that just fits you like a glove on your journey, what it does for you. I am almost out of money. And again, as I have said to you, I have not put up, nor would I. I mean, no, I'm not saying I wouldn't. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. But I got some new shades, so I think it's bright. I did. And I love them. Oh my gosh. Did I show? No, because I wasn't here yesterday. So if you're looking for day 70 of critical thinking, it's not here. I took critical thinking off. We are talking so much about slavery, in depth about slavery in our Bookless classroom. And we went an hour and a half yesterday. So well into our critical thinking time we did with our slavery. And really, for the historical kinds of background and factual background, take a look at our Civil War series, but that's been going on for at least 4 weeks. I have just loved it. And critically thinking right here, why have I loved our Civil War series so much? It just has enlightened me about democracy. And so that's the reason why in this critical thinking class, we're talking about slavery. So lots of overlap right now with this concept. I have found in studying, I expected Civil War to take, maybe 2 weeks of our class, which are, of course, we only meet Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, right? So I think maybe it'll take up 2 weeks of our classroom classes. And again, we are at least on week 5. And that is just because democracy should be pretty simple. And of course, historically, we know that it's not, right? Why did slavery last so long? So we know historically that democracy just really isn't that simple. And I learned that because I'm not a history major, and nor, I do have to say, I could see his face. Mr. Mooney, I could see your face, Mr. Mooney. I can. Interesting. I've been putting together, if we did our early bird classroom, I think it was our early bird class, one of our first early bird classrooms where we did our names, or did we do it here? We could have done it in this critical thinking. Is this internet connection? That actually, bordering on rage. If I raged, which I don't, because I like the theme, just be awesome. Look at that. That is the most beautiful classroom background. I just be awesome. No fresh flowers, but flowers. Look at how long these last. Why didn't these open up? I say they glued them shut. That's what I say. Why are these so inexpensive? They were $13. Because these lilies, because apparently Xfinity could get internet to Bogota in order to make sure that they're cutting down all the trees and making extinct wildlife, but apparently they can't get clear internet in Commerce. If I don't keep getting clear internet, I'm gonna just keep spilling beans. What was it that I was walking away saying, that's what I'm gonna spill if I get a terrible internet connection? It was about you, Dave Ruthven. More and more and more spillage. I know already now you were a philanderer. I can't believe how I give everybody the benefit of the doubt and don't think that they're big pigs. And so, why did slavery last so long? Because people gave other people the benefit of the doubt when they're big pigs. End of today's lesson. No. Hello. We skipped skipped yesterday. Totally skipped. It was a total skip day, right? Totally skipped. There I go. I watched it. I just watched me do that thing just now, just what I did. Tricked you. Okay, let's get a move on. Although this is a move on, right? It's a slow move, but it is a move on. Why did slavery last so long? I'm thinking of street language right now is what I'm thinking of. Language that belongs on the street is what I'm thinking of to answer that question. Does not belong coming out of a teacher's mouth in the classroom. Sometimes it happens, doesn't it? Sometimes it happens, doesn't it? Sometimes it happens, doesn't it? Like when I threaten to get, louder. Sometimes it happens. Okay, so we're going to, I have no slides for you today, and I'm not going to fuss with anything to get a slide up there. Hopefully you've had a really good idea of what Bloom's taxonomy is all about. I pulled it up in our last lesson, which would have been lesson 69. Yeah, I know. So, look it up. Bloom's taxonomy, if you haven't seen it, and we have it all, we talk all about it in the earlier classes, like literally, I think I introduced it on day 1, I'm pretty sure, in this classroom, in our critical thinking classroom. Remember that the goal of this critical thinking classroom is always pick any word that you want that is associated with self-awareness, right? Yeah, we'll go with that. Self-image. But when you think about self-image, that has so many other connotations like self-monitoring and self-esteem. Self-image, right? Doesn't it? So when I'm talking about your self-image, I'm talking about knowing yourself, right? And figuring it out. In our early bird class, we were talking about whether or not it feels good for you to understand like Roman numerals. Did that feel good or didn't it? Right? That's not a bad thing to think about because you are beginning to have an understanding of, well, in real adult terms, your journey. And critical thinking high school terms, who you are, or your journey, right? That's what we were talking, does it feel good to learn grammar? Does it feel good? Like you feel like you get it? Or are you anxious about it and nervous about it and feel like you like you're gonna sink, right? Like you've got all these rules to memorize and you're not gonna be able to do it and you're gonna sink. Do you feel that way? And you could pick any topic that you want to pick, or your satisfaction with your life and who you are. Do you feel like you're gonna sink, or do you feel like you're gonna swim? And that's not a bad idea, right? To think about the big picture, your journey. Do you feel like you're going to sink or do you feel like you're going to swim? I mean, really down deep in the recesses of your room. Maybe when mom and dad are around, you're like, oh, I'm going to sink. Or maybe when mom and dad are around, you're like, oh, I'm going to swim. But then when you get in the recesses of your own bedroom, you're like, oh, I'm going to sink. Or I'm going to swim. I'm going to swim. No matter what they say, I'm going to swim. Right? So we think about that. Excuse me. People think it's funny in all the weird ways. So sink or swim. You can think about the big picture. Am I going to sink or am I going to swim? in my job, in the thing I really want to do, acting or being a teacher or am I going to sink or am I going to swim? In my marriage, am I going to sink or am I going to swim? Raising my kids. So big picture. But little picture, am I going to sink or am I going to swim cleaning my bedroom? Real little picture, right? Real little picture. So giving you those two extremes like that, right? My marriage, my career, my bedroom, cleaning my bedroom. Am I going to sink or am I going to swim? You could really see how in each aspect you can utilize Bloom's taxonomy, right? And like I said, we've done that quite a few times already. So utilize Bloom's taxonomy. Am I going to sink or am I going to swim? And that is a knowledge-based thing. I'm going to sink if I don't have enough knowledge, right? If I don't know how to spell this list of spelling words for this quiz this Friday, I'm going to sink, right? So again, on the smallest things, but if I, right? So there's a knowledge thing. If I get more knowledge, if I study, if I do enlist these strategies, I'll swim, right? I wish I had a picture there, sink or swim. I'll swim. Then we'd have a little, I'll swim, right? If I go out with my friends, get depressed, feel overwhelmed, I'm going to sink. Right? The meme right there. I could just see it. I can see it. I'm going to sink, right? And think about it literally. Think about it literally, right? I'm just watching what they're going to end up doing with those clips because I know those. I know. That's all the entertainment they have going. And think about it literally. If I'm swimming, there's a feeling that goes along with it. And I'm going to give you something else to think about. That's like really a deep dive. No pun intended, but I did enjoy it. So there's a feeling that goes along with swimming, right? I would imagine the feeling is much more exhilarating for a Mark Spitz or what was his name? Who broke all the records? Wasn't his name Mark too? I don't remember. Phillips, right? Was it Mark Phillips? Mike Phillips? Michael Phillips? Right? I would imagine the feeling that goes along with swimming is greater for some people than others, but still, right? A child who just learns to swim, that exhilaration is not the same exhilaration I get. You know, I was just thinking, there's like when I do that, the thoughts cross my mind. And I thought about this a lot lately. It's come up in the back of my mind a lot lately, was when my son and I went to go swim across our lake that we were on, which is Scotch Lake. We were on. And I got about a quarter of the way and I said, I can't do it. I said, I know that I'm going to worry sometime during the course of this, and then I don't know what's going to happen. I thought I could do it. I thought I was a stronger swimmer, but I didn't swim like that for a very long time. It had been years, and I thought I would try it, right? So, because my dad used to do it, and so whatever. And probably some nefarious thing he was doing too. And my son was with me. And so I said, I got to go back. And he said, can I go on? And I said, you cannot be unsure about this at all. He was like, I know I can do this. And I'm like, no, really, you can't, because I'm not there. And then no, you would like because I get a boy wanting to do that. And I get him knowing that he could. And I get that he understood that there is no acceptable answer if he couldn't for me. There is no, I mean, you just might as well put a noose around my neck and call it a day, and a brick around my foot, right? And call it a day. Do you understand? But he did. And that just came into my mind as I was thinking about that, sinking or swimming, right? And I knew he could. I knew he could. He was strong. He was a great swimmer. He understood. I talked to him. He understood. My younger son, Travis, had an experience in the water that I know scared him for a long, long time. I don't know if you ever get over that. He thought he could swim a distance. We all thought he could. The distance is always further. I told him that. I said, remember when Travis did that? He thought he could. He thought the distance, and the distance is further. Right now, look at the way, I said to him. I said, we've gone only a quarter of the way, and I can't make it. The distance is much further than you think it is. I know, Mom. I know. In hindsight, right now, that's come up in my mind a lot. That's like the third time it came up in my mind. That story. Woo! And there's an emotion that comes with the knowledge, right? And when it's a story, there's more emotion. And when there's more knowledge, there's less emotion. But there's always an emotion. And so going back to your journey, the smallest journey, right? Making your bed, cleaning your room, to the largest journey, raising your kids, right? Am I going to sink or am I going to swim? There's knowledge that goes with knowing how to make your bed, knowing how to do laundry, right? It's just ridiculous. 11,000 frames dropped. Just absolutely ridiculous. $100 a month. And you can't keep a signal. Xfinity. $100 a month. And why? Because there's nefarious people around here who are doing their BS to keep my mouth quiet. And you're letting them. That's just fascism. That's simply fascism. Here in Michigan, you know, there's something that they saw when I was 4 or 5 years old and took those tests, because it was then that I was sold to the university. I don't know how or why you think that you're going to outsmart me. I mean, you bumbling idiots. I mean, you just are bumbling idiots. You knew what they were willing to do and spend for what they had. And yet somehow you bumbling, uneducated idiots think that you're going to outsmart me and the system that invested money in me. You bumbling bunch of idiots. Not to mention, from the very beginning, spiritually speaking, you've been on the wrong side of this. I mean, I don't even know what could hit you in the head. You are the people who stand at the Red Sea, watch it part, and cross over going, where's the internet? I have no, how come I don't have my phone? That's what you do. a lifetime spending your life on somebody else. Those are people who never had this course and learning who they are and the importance of understanding that you cannot disassociate your feelings from your knowledge. As much as you try, you're like, oh, well, that's why we have AI. Mm-hmm. And AI is the reason why they will show you the reason why we have more than just knowledge, right? More than one avenue. More than one avenue. It's just not a knowledge train, right? And there must be something valuable in it because our creator decided to put it there. And if you are thinking about things differently, you will evolve right out of the system by your very words. How many times I've thought of that as a prophecy too? By your very words. By your very words, you will evolve yourself out of the system. And some of you are like, cool, never wanted that anyway. But others of you somehow are planning on everlasting life through the back door. And nobody wants everlasting life through the back door, no matter how you frame it. Oh, jeez. Though some of these are priceless. Some of these are priceless. Oh my gosh. I'm going to compete with some quotes from, I'm going to put Benjamin Franklin's very wise quotes. Of course, he had that whole almanac. I'm quite sure he has some great sarcasm and some, of course he does, and wits in there. We've already heard some of it, haven't we? Not here in the Bookless classroom. I did about, I don't know, 5 quotes. Maybe that's all from Benjamin Franklin. I felt like I could have done a whole day on quotes from Benny. From old Ben. Okay. So, you think you are humorous, don't you? I watched myself laugh and then I thought of that. So, are you going to sink or are you going to swim? You thought I lost it, but that's because you don't know who you're dealing with, for Pete's sake. You're like, how many times have you lost that bet and just lied to yourself that you actually didn't? Nice on the frames. 18,000 dropped frames. Xfinity, it might be nice if you got the criminals out of our connections. Yeah, nice stop on the frame there too. Even though I have excellent signal. That's what I just saw over there. You'll see it. You'll see me do it now. I'll see me do it. And I'm in a loop. Okay. So the important thing, because again, what is this class about? It is the Bloom's taxonomy, but all of this is wrapped up in our feelings, right? All of it has got an emotional component, which really is the spirit of who we are. Our emotional component can be thought of as the spirit of who we are. I think of it that way. I think of whenever I think of me and how my spirit is, like if I were to check in with my spirit, right? How's my spirit today? I would equate that to an emotional component. I would. So how's my spirit today? I was, after all that's going on, right? And possibly also, completely running out of money, which is what I said. I don't do, not that I wouldn't do those things, but I haven't done them. So don't be giving your money to anything that is like you think you're giving it to me, because I have none of those things out there. But I would imagine that the leeches around me do, because they are some awful people. So look out, right? Like my dad might have some out there. That would be, I don't know that he would know how to work this, but somebody would for sure. It's just a fall day on our signal today, isn't it, Xfinity? Just yellow, green. Oh, now we have green and red, yellow, orange, red, yellow, green, light green, lime green, red. There's our signal today. A report. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have a ticker down there, which is gonna be our signal. I totally want that. Oh my gosh. So OBS, give me a ticker that shows this shitty ass connection constantly. The constant colors need to go right across the bottom there for this shitty ass connection that I spend $100 a month on. Sorry, critical thinkers, but sometimes we go a little hard. Orange, red, yellow, green. Orange, yellow, red, lime green, green. Oh, we have all kinds of colors now too. We have like light orange and dark orange, light yellow, dark yellow, all kinds of colors. Why did slavery last so long? Well, the simple answer really is money and power. But let's get to what I wanted to talk about, right? Which is, let's get to our title. What's our title? Oh, did I have Civil War up there for you guys? Sorry. Should have been the law. That's our title. We weren't in the Bookless classroom, even though I had that up there, right? That's our title. It is the law. So what are we talking about? So let's get the facts so we can analyze and evaluate and understand and then recall and mix other associations with it. So with our facts, okay? And remember the course of this topic that we're doing. We are talking about something very specific, which is slavery, right? But what we're doing is we are generalizing it to democracy, what's going on today, and not only the tangible things that I could say on this date we had this civil war or civil rights crisis, right? On this day we had a new era civil rights, whatever you want to call the shootings that we have. What is this era? Because the historians, I would imagine it's going to have some label that has something to do with fascism. How about that? How about, because we remember, so the civil rights movement, the Great Wars, right, or before that, right? So, or the Roaring, right, and we had the Roaring 20s. So we have feelings wrapped up with events, all right? So we need to know the events as we move into concepts, which are knowledge: democracy, fascism, white supremacy, human rights, human dignity. But notice the emotion that gets attached as we simply even say those names, and then they register in your ears and in your brain, all of those things, right? That I was just all of those events, all of the course of those things that are occurring, right? So as you are going through the critical thinking class, you want to think and examine the emotions that might be brought up when I'm talking about things like democracy, which may be less of an emotion than when I talk about fascism, when I talk about white supremacy, when I talk about January 6th, when I talk about Donald J. Trump, when I talk about I lost his name for a sec, and I was like, and I can think of his son. So President Biden, Joe Biden. I was like, I can think of Hunter Biden. How can I think of his name? Joe Biden, right? So our president, right? There's emotions, and my emotions that come on board when you say Donald J. Trump compared to Joe Biden are very different, likely, than your emotions when I say Donald J. Trump and President Joe Biden, right? So, and that's a discovery of who you are. That's a discovery of who you are. When you become angry, when you hear Joe Biden or DJT, or enraged, are you that person who becomes I get more than angry about some things. I get more than angry, but I'm not aggressive, right? I, yeah, I don't aggress. That's a behavior. I don't aggress, but I do get, I mean, because my anger to me is like I stub my toe and I cuss. That is anger. That's anger. So my anger for when you say those things, those words, those trigger the anger is greater than that anger. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But I don't aggress. It's not like when I stub my toe, I punch the wall. I'm not a guy. Yeah, I said it. I'm not a guy. Okay, so I want to show you. I love that slide. I just do. I think that's a really pretty slide. I do. I think it is a pretty slide. I want to doesn't matter. I want to get it balanced in the picture more, but it's hard for me because I'm balancing it in the picture on the PowerPoint as opposed to on there. So all right, so we came for, which was this slide. So just knowledge. I'll give you some knowledge now, and then you examine how you feel about the knowledge. So we're going to talk about the Civil War, right? And there are all kinds. So we in the Bookless classroom have been spending, as I said, a number of weeks on the Civil War, and I myself have come to certain conclusions based on my past knowledge, which wasn't a lot, but I do remember some things from what I learned about, from history. And that is from history classes, right? And reading books or whatever. And that is, there was the knowledge that I had was that Lincoln's biggest goal was not emancipation, was not to free the slaves. That was the knowledge that I had. Nobody said that. There was a list of things, and freeing the slaves was on that list of things, reasons for the Civil War. And all of that is true. I mean, Lincoln didn't go to war for slavery, but he did immediately go to war. He immediately went to war. And as soon as he was elected, he immediately went to war when South Carolina seceded from the nation, said, I'm not going to be a part of you any longer, right? United States. And then I believe it's altogether 14 states, maybe, or 14 additional states. I think it was altogether 14 states fell in line in the South. We don't want to be part of this nation any longer. And that happened right after Lincoln was elected. All right, so knowledge. Lincoln gets elected. South Carolina secedes from the nation, and 14 other nations or states, or 14 altogether, fall in line. Say, we don't want to be part of the United States. That fast. Lincoln's elected. That fast. Now maybe that's new knowledge to you and you don't have any feelings about it yet, or maybe it's old knowledge to you, or maybe you have other knowledge, not twisted, other knowledge, additional knowledge, whatever, different knowledge, whatever. And so for everybody, it brings about a level of feelings, right? I didn't have the feelings about it when I first started studying this and presenting it as I do now. More feelings, right? I didn't have the number of feelings about it that I do now, if you want to put it that way, okay? Or intensity or whatever, however you want to put it. But there are feelings now that are involved, and more feelings than what I've had before. The more knowledge I gain, the more these feelings the more feelings I'm going to have about it, right? We call that, in psychology, we call it a schema. And I think of it as like a big puzzle. And as you get more knowledge and the emotions then that are attached to that, that puzzle piece gets larger. So my puzzle piece in my brain, if it were broken up into puzzle pieces in my brain for Civil War, was very small when we started. And now my puzzle piece for Civil War is much larger than it was before. That's a schema. I have a larger schema now for the Civil War. And so as we get more knowledge, we get larger schemas. But don't forget that knowledge is not the only thing contained in that schema. And you can't separate the emotion from the knowledge. It doesn't work that way. You can't make two smaller puzzle pieces, one puzzle piece that's got Civil War knowledge and the other puzzle piece that has Civil War emotion. You can't do it. They come together. And even a psychopath can't separate them. A psychopath just loses the emotional component. Philosophical classroom, right? Okay, so in our schema, we automatically have emotions. They cannot be separated. They are just like, it's trying to separate, I was going to say the cream from the milk, but that's easy. Easy peasy. So it's not that. It wouldn't be that. And they think that they could probably separate almost anything. Salt from the salt water. The ocean? Sure, they can do it. Absolutely. The toxins from the urine? But do you want to drink it? Here's the water for the poor people. Right? I would be careful. If there were any Trump water, that criminal, I have no idea what I would be drinking. No, actually, I have some idea what I would be drinking. Water for the poor people. Right? DJT? Water for the poor people. So, as I gain knowledge, and so again, what emotions are attached? As I gain knowledge, I gain emotions. My schema gets bigger for it. And then I and you begin to think about, who am I? Where are my values? Where do my values fall in line with history? Right? That's what you're discovering. When you discover yourself, it's a process by which you increase your schemas, not just about yourself, but as you relate to the rest of the world. And clearly then, the more knowledge you gain about the rest of the world, the more open-minded you are. Just to put knowledge in is going to rearrange and weight those schemas. Some schemas are going to be larger and more important emotionally. There's an importance on those schemas, right? That's the emotional component. Okay, so The thing I wanted to tell you about the laws is that we had all of these laws in place prior to the South Carolina seceding from the nation, right? Against slavery. So here's where you begin to see today's issues that we hear about states' rights versus federal rights. The federal government was put into place in order to protect the people. That's why the federal government exists, to protect the people, to get money to help protect the people. That's the purpose of the federal government, if nobody ever told you that. That's why we have laws, to protect the people. That's why we have judges who judge those laws to protect the people. And that's why we have an executive branch to enforce those laws, all to protect the people. That's what federal government is for. How do you feel that that's true? I'm not here. I'm here for you to identify your feelings about it. Is that what you feel to be true? That's what I feel to be true, right? That's what I've read. Now, why did slavery last so long? Money, power. That's it. The end, right? The end, as I said, close the book. Why did slavery last so long? We got it. Money, power. So where does that fit in then to this more federal government, less federal government, right? And historically speaking, states' rights is the Wild West. You might have those laws, but I don't want those laws. Right? It is a complete inability to learn how to work together, work as a union, the United States. And the North was called the Union Army. That was the goal. What do you feel about federal government? What do you feel about it? Because that's the knowledge I have historically. I know the feelings of the South. They still exist today. Why did slavery last so long? Let me see, where are we on time? Oh, right on time. I was going to end it. I can't see because I don't have my glasses on. And I want to do this. The search face. I'm searching for the time. But I did the search face. So 11:30, we're on time. We are doing shorter, in case you didn't notice, we are doing shorter critical thinking classrooms. I don't know what it is about like the Bookless and Early Bird. I do think I have a natural inclination to teach to the age group, even when I don't even see them in front of my face. And so you guys really get a lot more meat coming off of Bookless and coming off of Early Birds. I could be like, look at the flowers, and spend, which I did in this classroom too. Whatever. So we shorten the time, right? So 45 minutes. We're coming on here at 10:45, 45 minutes. High school students don't have that much of attention span anyway, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. Your creative minds are just juicing up, is what they are doing, and that's what we love about you at this age. You have there's fertile minds there to grow and learn and change. And I hope you stick with me. I think a lot of you are. I hope you stick with me because that is what I am doing for you. I am getting you to have really fertile minds, which, if you heard me today at all, means you have a fertile heart as well, right? Just open. That's it. Doesn't mean we have to ingest the poison, right? Although they're giving it to us left and right? They're literally and out there, in our water, on our lawns. in our food, wrap the seed with poison, Vogel Farms, right? Why would I go against it? Why would I be small farm? Oh, really? Is that what big ag looks like, Glenn? Is that what big ag looks like? Dr. Annette Feravich, I am here because I'm the teacher. We're in the classroom. This has been the critical thinking classroom. And this is what I'm going to do. So I found this. And so in critical thinking, I'm going to put up our main question of the day. It's going to be right here on our little chalkboard. Thanks for joining me. Remember, we skipped day 70. So our last class here in critical thinking was day 69. I will see you tomorrow.